Good afternoon and welcome to the Rockesblum Computer Consulting webinar series. As always, we will be recording this and we'll post it to our YouTube channel and our website later this week. Now, my name is Kelly Bergman and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our monthly webinar featuring RateLinx. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Shannon Valancourt, CEO and founder of RateLinx. Since founding RateLinx in 2002, he has pioneered the development of the extensible, adaptable, and scalable TMS and freight audit platform, custom built for each customer with limitless integration capabilities to control costs and drive revenue growth. With that, I'll let you take the floor.
Thank you very much, Kelly. I appreciate it. So thanks everyone for joining today. I'm going to walk you through our shipping solution called ShipLinx TMS. So our solution is all Azure-based, so it's cloud-based, and we do use Microsoft Azure. We do have two front ends for it. So what you're seeing here on my screen is our desktop front end, but we also have a web front end. This desktop front end is typically used in your normal traditional, what I would call your shipping workstation, where you've got a scale hooked up to the machine, you've got a label printer, and that's where the user would, scan in sales order number. It reaches out to the ERP, Sage 100, grabs the ship to information, ship via, sets any accessorials, reads weight from the scale, ship it. It then sends back to Sage the information that it needs, tracking number, freight charges, carrier. So this is typically used, again, for the traditional shipping workstation, mainly, small parcel, high volume. It can do LTL as well. So if I have an LTL order, it'll pull in all the information. It'll do a rate shop across the LTL carriers that are set up and defined in the system. T&T is your transit time. So that's your service days. So I can pick the carrier I want from the list, hit ship. Again, it's going to communicate back into Sage and send it back tracking number, freight charges, and then print out your bill lading. And what you're seeing on the screen here is an example of a VIX bill lading, which is a standard bill lading. All of our documents that print out of our system are crystal reports, so that allows us to make any changes that customers may need. So if there's additional information that you want printed on a bill lading, we can make those changes for you and drop it into the system. We also can do packing on our screen. So if you have the situation where you want to capture the details at the shipping station in terms of what's in each box, you can use our packing. So that's where they can scan in the item number or they can be selected from up above. And I can pack those into a box. I can close the box. I can then put in a box ID, or I can select it from the list in order to get my dimensions. And again, the weight is what read from the scale. And then I pack the rest of the items, close my box. I'm going to override the weight on this one, say it's 20 pounds. Say I'm done. So now it's going to rate it and see my expected count change to 2. That means I have 2 boxes that are going to ship. So when I hit ship, it's now going to communicate back into the ERP, send back the tracking numbers, the charges, and it's also going to print out shipping labels and packing slips. So this is where the packing slip, so box 1 of 2. If I scroll down, we've got box 2 of 2, what's in it. And all of our documents, again, crystal report. So this is just my sample packing list, but we can change this. Every customer has their own little version of how they want it to look, and we put your company logo up here instead of ours. And we do have customers that are printing out the packing slip on a 4x6-inch label instead of an 8.5 by 11. So that's also a possibility for us if that fits your requirement. So you don't have to print it on 8.5 by 11. So that's the desktop. Pretty simple, straightforward. We try to keep it as automated and integrated as possible with Sage. One thing I will make a comment on with the integration is because we're using this desktop application, all of the integration stays inside the firewall. So that way there's no security issues at all with it. And also, we have a way to handle some of the latency that we've heard about with other solutions out there as it's communicating with Sage, where sometimes it'll time out. We have a way to handle that so that way you don't experience the timeouts with the write backs into Sage. So now we've got, I talked about the web. We do have the web screens as well. So everything that I just did on the desktop goes up here into Azure, and it's up here on the web screen. So if I go into my shipping history, so here's the UPS shipments. I did the 2-box shipment. So if I go into the shipping details, you see again what was packed in each box, the item numbers, the descriptions, quantities. So everything does go up into the cloud in Microsoft Azure. And we do have web shipping screens, so you can do it from the web. So if we're doing it by shipment ID or sales order, I can click next on the web, does the real-time integration still. And in this scenario, it already has package details inside of the ERP. So we pull that over. It has a ship via, so if I ship it, it's going to create the 2 labels and communicate back to the ERP in real time and send back the tracking number, freight charges, and carrier. So again, if I go to my labels, so it was a 2-box shipment. So here's each label that would print out, and it was set to go FedEx home delivery. So you can see you're 1 of 2, 2 of 2 on the label there. So again, we do have the 2 front ends. So it just comes down to which system makes the most sense. Is it web? Is it desktop? We do have some customers where they use both. So it's not unusual that you would have a scenario where maybe you've got a higher volume workstation with parcel and you want to use the desktop for that. And then maybe you use the web for more of the LTL or even like a manual. So if I go in and I just go to my ship by screen, here I can do a manual shipment. So I can pick one of the rate shop codes. So I'm going to pick the mixed mode rate shop here. So again, it takes me to my shipment screen. I can pick an address from an address book. I'll grab my address. And then it's mixed mode. So this is going to rate shop between parcel, LTL, and truckload. So I have to put in my package details. Let's say it's 12 by 12. I'll put in BOL details. Maybe I just have 1 piece and 75 pounds. So now it'll rate shop across all the carriers in the system. So I go to the show rates. So again, here's parcel with LTL with truckload. And then you can see all your service days. And then you can pick the mode and the carrier that you want to ship with. So if I just want to do a FedEx ground shipment, click ship, and then I'll get my shipping labels will print out. Again, get your normal labels. So I just did a 1-box shipment. So there's my FedEx ground label that would print out on your printer. That's where we do handle all the modes of freight. You can see them all easily in one spot here under the shipping menu with the ship by. You've got your shipping history. I can also use the web screens to do a rate estimate. So if I go into my rate estimate, again, I've got my mixed mode. So if I pick the mixed mode and I'm just going to do a quick rate estimate. So from 53714, 85331, again, mixed mode. So I'm going to put in my box and my LTL details, and now it's going to rate shop. So again, just like the previous example, except this time I'm just doing a rate estimate. So here I just want to see that, oh, FedEx Ground's going to cost $40. So that's probably the best way to go for this shipment. We also can do what we call a must arrive by date rate shop. So in this example, we were looking at something getting delivered by the 1st, which is a week from now. So if I change that, and maybe I need something to get delivered by Friday. So if I change it to Friday, now it's only going to come back and show me the 3 options that can get it there by that time. So that's where our rate shopping is more than just rate specific. It also will look at service and delivery dates to determine what's the best mode to use. We also have under our setups, we have what we call routing exceptions. So that's where you can also set up what we call routing exceptions where for a particular, in this example, customer. So if I'm shipping to Walmart, for example, the only allowed ship via here is FedEx Freight. So that's where you can set up customer specific routing rules in the system. And maybe it's, they'll allow FedEx Freight and they'll allow FedEx Ground and they'll allow Old Dominion. So what that will do to the system is every time it sees a Walmart shipment, it will only rate shop between those 3 options. And just like you can say only allow those 3, you can also do the opposite and say I'll rate shop against everybody except for these 3 carriers. And then that's where they'll just never be an option for the user to pick from. You also have the ability to set up routing exceptions by origin, addresses, ship tos, weight ranges. We've seen that before with customers where maybe they want to have UPS used as long as it's under 75 pounds. And when it gets above 75 pounds, they want it to be FedEx or they want it to go with a different carrier. That's where you can do it by weight ranges. You could do it by carton counts, pallets, linear feet, cube, how much cubic volume it's taking up. So you can really make your rate shopping rules very specific to your requirements. That way it's as automated as possible. So we've got ship by, I've shown you manual shipments. We've done some rate estimates. I'm going to walk through for those customers that do spot quoting on the truckload side, we have what we call our auction module. And that's where what you can do is you can go into the system and you can invite your truckload carriers or brokers that you use. So you would put in their email address, send them an invitation. It's a one-time registration. So in my example here, I have 4 carriers that have registered on the platform. So every time I do a spot quote, they will be notified and then they will bid on it. So it goes through the regular shipping process that I showed you. And then if I go to my auction shipment tracking, this is going to show all of the open auctions that I have out there. And you can see some of these have bids on them already. So if I click on this one as an example, you can see who it got sent to. You can see that the auction started at $2,300 and now we're down to $1,400. And if I scroll down, you'll see here's the rate history. So one carrier's bid twice, and then the other carriers have put their bids in. And up here, this shows the most recent bid that they had. So this is a very easy way for you to handle any of the spot quotes that you're doing. And you can invite as many carriers as you want into the solution. There's no limitation. And in fact, we say you should add as many carriers to bid as possible into here. and always do a mix between brokers and asset-based carriers. That way you get capacity mixed with pricing. And what we find is that most customers are able to save about 20% or more on their spot quotes by using this tool, just because it makes it a lot more competitive and a lot easier for carriers to do their bidding on it. So then once you've shipped everything out, then we have tracking. So you can track all of your shipments through here as well. So when you go to your tracking screen, we start with the main milestones, what's been created, what's been picked up, what's already in transit, out for delivery and delivered. And then if you click on one of these icons, it will then filter the list down and show you the details. So when we get the tracking details from carriers, if I click on one here, you're going to see we get all of their details when they're estimating deliveries, when they're en route to the delivery location, when they've completed the delivery. So you have full access to that, and it's for all modes. So it's not just parcel or LTL. We also get truckload. So if I just focus on parcel here real quick, if I grab a few parcel examples, you can see, so this UPS shipment here, this shows you kind of the detail we get. So we do get a lot of detail on the tracking side. As you can see, it's full progress as the packages are out for delivery and being picked up and moving from terminal to terminal. And if I pick, let's grab this FedEx one. FedEx, again, same thing, same level of detail. So that can be nice if you have any types of shipments that need to be tracked that are very important. You turn on the tracking and now you'll have full access to everything. And with these shipments, you can also get updates. So if you want to receive a update, you want to get every update that happens on that shipment, it can come to you via text message, email, or both. Or if you just want to be notified when it's picked up, delivered, or if there's an exception, you can subscribe to these. And all of this can be set up to be done automatically. And you can have these notifications get sent to your customers, or they can get sent internally, or both. It's up to you how you want it configured. The other mode that I've been getting a lot of questions on is ocean. So for those customers that are importing a lot of freight, we do track ocean as well. So as long as we get a container number and a carrier, we can track the ocean shipments. So in this example, you can see it went from China into Long Beach. And then once it hit Long Beach, it got put on the rail. So again, it got put on the intermodal ramp. It got railed into Kansas City. And then that's where it got delivered and then emptied. So it got completed unloading. So the container got emptied and then it got returned back to the rail. So that's where if you are importing things and you want to be able to track those ocean shipments, that can all be handled here under the tracking as well. And then the last part of us, well, one of the last parts of us is the freight invoice. So we can capture the freight invoice in the system and it can be audited. So if I grab a couple of examples here. So invoice comes into the system. It gets matched up to the shipment. So here's what came in on the invoice. So the base charges match and they're invoicing for a layover charge, which doesn't match the tender record, so that can get flagged. And then here you can adjust the invoices. So I can put if that shouldn't be charged, I can put a $250 adjustment, which will zero it out. And then I can say, go ahead and pay it. What will happen then is the system will introduce that invoice automatically and integrate it into Sage. So that way you no longer have to enter all of these invoices manually. They will just get integrated into the payables section. And that's where this invoice, if I go into the detail of it here, will already be GL coded. So we'll have the correct general ledger code with the dollar amount applied. So that way it knows how to enter that bill directly into Sage. So if everything matched up, invoice comes in, it matches the tender record exactly, then it will just automatically get entered into Sage. So we found this to be a huge time savings for a lot of customers. And also, it helps them audit these freight bills to make sure that they are paying the right amount, because surprisingly enough, the carriers do make a fair amount of mistakes when they're invoicing. So this will catch it and make it be very easy. You only have to deal with the exceptions that happen. Otherwise, if everything matches, it just goes right into the payable cycle to be paid through Sage. And again, all modes of freight can roll through here, so it doesn't matter which one it is. On the invoice side, you can do, grab all your parcel data, your LTL data, truckload, ocean, air, you name it. And then once we have all that information, we have a lot of reporting. So you can see I've got this reporting menu with dynamic reports. You also see I've got these KPIs here. These are what we call our trend KPIs. So they're showing the trends of all the freight that's moving through the system. And then it gives you a headline at the top that summarizes what's happening with the spend and what the cause is. So here for parcel, my parcel cost is decreased, which is always great. And it's mainly caused by a decrease in accessorials. So the trends are definable in terms of your periods. So what's your current period versus previous? Is it, you can do a rolling 12 months compared to the previous 12 months. You can do a rolling 30 days versus previous 30 days, this quarter compared to last quarter. And that's all configurable how you want to measure this. We also have, if you're capturing the invoices, you'll have audit trends in here to see how the audit's doing. If you're doing spot quotes, you'll have the auction trends to see how auctions are performing. So this is showing about a $500 in auction savings is occurring in this example. And then we also have an analytics trend. And this helps you really monitor your freight. So savings, lost savings, potential savings. Savings is going to measure before and after. So you put new rates in place, you renegotiate rates, it'll measure the before and after effect of that rate negotiation to make sure that you're saving what you should be. Lost savings is measuring your performance with respect to how optimal are you. So you've got these great rates in place. Are you using them to the best of your ability, or is somebody overriding them to a more expensive carrier? That's where the lost savings will capture that. And then potential savings is measuring how much your rules are costing you. So like we showed the routing exceptions, if you do have some of those in place where you can only look at certain carriers based on customers or destinations or origins, the potential savings will break that rule and measure how much you could have paid by using another carrier that was outside that rule, just to make sure that those rules are still valid and that nothing changes. So this is always a good one to look at. And then with all these, if I click, it'll take us into the dynamic reports. And the dynamic reports, so here it filters it down automatically. And we call it a dynamic report because I can dynamically change the columns that I'm reporting on. So I could add, let's add a ship to, I'm going to add ship to company. So now I can see the companies that I'm shipping to. I'm going to add the city, So what cities am I shipping to? And again, I've got my total charge. I can see my savings, bid savings, or I could just add all the columns in. And if I add all the columns, then it's going to show everything that I might need. So you can have full details available to you through the dynamic report. So this is going to show all of your, how did you ship it? What was the SCAC? What was the origin that you shipped from? What was the destination you shipped to? The ship dates. If there's any order numbers, they'll all be listed here. Customer IDs, charges, you name it. They'll all be listed on the report. And then what you can do is you can export this to Excel. You can schedule it. So if you want it to come to you daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, you can set that up, and then the system will send it to you automatically. And then you also have the ability to save these report configurations. So when you pick a report configuration out of the list, so if I go, let's grab lost savings. When I load the config, it now remembers the columns to check and unchecks the right ones, sets any filters that you had, and then here it is. So that way, if you go through a lot of work to put together a report, you can just save it as a configuration. You can also create a chart, and you can also create a monitor. Monitors are pretty sophisticated, kind of complex, but they can be very helpful, where it will look for thresholds and then it will notify you when things get out of tolerance with the threshold. So that way you don't have to watch everything all the time. The monitor is going to catch it and send it to you. And that's where you see we've got a lot of baselines. This is what we call them. This is where we start with every customer. So we can add, if you're tracking data, we're going to have all your baseline track and trace. So you'll have all your historical tracking information. We also have all your shipping details to keep track of your shipping. We have charge details. So if I go to my charge details, this one's kind of interesting. So if I grab, I'm going to do just a charge summary here to show you a better example. So with the charge summary, what's nice about this is it's going to show you all your charges that you have. So I'm going to sort by charge amount. So you can see where most of your charges are coming from on the freight spend. So if you are in the middle of looking at your carrier agreements and contracts with the carriers, you can see which accessorials maybe you should be working on that you're getting hit with the most, and how much the cost is total of your spend, how many shipments had it, what your cost per shipment is. So this can be a very good negotiating tool when it comes to that time of the year for you. And all of these reports also build into our modeling. So that's where we have our parcel contract analysis. We also have under the admin, you can do LTL. So if I click on the parcel one as an example, what you're able to do under here is plug in your agreements and see how they compare. So if you are looking at switching from UPS to FedEx or FedEx to UPS, this is a good way to see how those proposals compare to each other, to make sure that you are getting the savings that you're expecting to get. And then you can do different analyses. So I can look at, a revenue neutral conversion. So if I'm just converting from UPS to FedEx, what is the revenue neutral conversion that I need on a discount perspective? That way I can just quickly eyeball a proposal and see how do the discounts compare to what I should be getting here. And then we also have, I'm going to open up a new window here real quick. We also have kind of a year over year. I log in, I go to my parcel base rate analysis, and I load this one up. This is also a nice little tool, especially as we're getting into that time of the year right now with rate changes around the corner, believe it or not. So that's where I can look at UPS and FedEx and I can see, one, how do their base rates, compare where the increases are. So, if I'm a heavy zone 4 shipper, that's good. If I'm shipping a lot to zone 6 and 7, that's where their rates really increase. And then I can say, well, what is the typical percentage increase year over year that we see? So from last year to this year, looks like UPS really changed their rates a lot here and then down here in the red. So it's funny that the zone 2 1-pound package for both UPS and FedEx happened to take a pretty big increase, which of course makes sense since most of the time when you look at your agreement, you get discounted down to a floor, and the floor is typically defined as the zone 2 1-pound package. So this also gives you some intelligence around the parcel rates, and it can be a nice little tool to help you, when it comes time to that, to putting in a new agreement with UPS and FedEx. From an administrative standpoint, it's very simple to maintain. So everything is set up. You've got client ID, locations, users, and roles. So locations are going to be all of the locations you ship from. So if you're one location, 50 locations, doesn't matter, set them all up. And then each location, you have your carriers. So under here is where you define your carriers. So again, FedEx, put in your account numbers, UPS, put in your account numbers. If it's postal, we do support direct with the post office. We can also do indicia. We can do stamps. We can do Pitney Bowes for postal. So whatever you guys need. And then you set up your ship via codes. So ship via is going to be whatever you call FedEx 2-day. Is it called F? Is it called F2? What do you call it? We just define all that in here. We do support the one rate, as you can see. And then scrolling down, you've got your rate shop codes. So rate shop codes are just a combination of ship vias. So that's where you set everything up. And to add a carrier, it's very simple in our solution. You just click add, pick the carrier from the list, and then fill in the blanks on account numbers. So very simple to maintain. And once you have your location set up, you've got your users that are defined. And the way that our system works is we have what we call roles. So the role is a combination of what we call conditions, which are like permissions in the system. Based on the roles, that's going to light up different parts of the menu. So if I was just a shipper, I would just have access maybe to the shipping menu is all I would see. And maybe I would see the ship by screen and shipping history. Maybe that's all I would have access to. All that gets defined in the roles. So you can set up customer service with access into the system so they could go maybe see tracking and maybe they would have access to shipping history and that's it. So none of the other menu options would be shown up here and everything else would be blanked out. So just to give you an example of what that looks like, if I go into a different type of user here that only has one role, all the KPIs go away, my menu completely changed. So again, that's how our whole system's put together. It's very, very configurable. Let me go back to my demo. So admin, locations, users, roles, that's how we configure everything. And that's where we make it as easy as possible. And if there's any questions on anything, that's what our support team is here for. And that's all this included in our support. And all the support comes out of our main office here in Scottsdale, Arizona. So everything customer facing is here in Scottsdale. So you have any issues, questions, you'll have an account manager that you can contact and they will help you with anything that you need in the system to make sure that you're getting the most amount of value out of here that you can. So that's a quick high-level overview of our whole system. I can pause in case there's any questions or comments from anyone out there.
Shannon, you're so amazing at this. Nobody had any questions.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be some later. There always are. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right. We'd like to quickly thank the entire RateLinx team. Shannon, thank you so much, and your team behind you. Can't see them, but they're hiding back there, I promise. And of course, thank you to all who attended. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending some of it with us. Thank you all so much for coming, and have a great rest of your day.